Welcome back to Biz Talk. I'm here with Ross founder of Off-Script Consults, and now I want to shift into the client and patient side of her work. We live in a world where health information is, let's face it, everywhere. Online, on social media, in apps, and podcasts, and articles, in advertisements, but more information does not always mean more clarity. For many people, the challenge is not finding health content, the challenge is understanding what applies to them, what is safe, what is credible, and how to take action in a realistic way. So, if you have ever searched for health answers online and walked away more confused than when you started, this part of the conversation should be for you. So, grab a pen and paper. Tune into this, stretch out, grab popcorn, coffee, whatever it is you need so you can focus on this, because I'm continuing this conversation with Ross and we're looking at personalized health consultations, medication understanding, health literacy, and the role pharmacists can play in helping people make informed decisions. This segment should really connect clinical expertise with everyday life. Ross can speak to how pharmacists can help people understand medications, health risks, lifestyle factors, and the questions they should bring, to their healthcare team. So, Ross, it is such a pleasure to have you here today.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
Something that I see here is personalized health support can help people reduce confusion, ask better questions, and become more active patients, right, in their health decisions. And I think that's extremely important. Now, as I mentioned, my wife is a nurse, and my goodness, the stories that she could tell, I'm sure, are vast, but there's a lot of confusion out there. And there's a lot of people that don't even know what questions to ask. But to really kick things off, when people come to you for personalized health consultations, what kind of confusion or concerns are they usually carrying?
So I noticed with a lot of them, they usually come with me with a goal and they
Mm,
share it right away, which is great. I love that they feel comfortable enough to just right away tell me what they need or what their concern is about. For since I'm a pharmacist, I like to provide examples. So, for example, someone would come to me and ask, "Hey, I wanted my doctor to do this." Right? Why didn't they do it? So that's an example. Or I also interpret genetics test results as well. So someone would come to me and say, "Hey, I someone's already tried to explain these genetics test results for me. I didn't really understand it. Can you
mm,
explain it for me in a way that I can understand it?" So I've done that before as well. Others would say, "Hey, I have this medical condition. I've tried so many medications. Why are none of the medications working for me?" And of course, there's always natural medications. There's definitely an increased interest in people wanting to include natural medications in their treatment plan. But there's always worries about replacing it and using it instead of prescription medications, using it with prescription medications, interactions there, and then of course what doses to use, and if there's any effects on other medical conditions too.
mm. There's so many complications out there when it comes to interpreting and understanding, health information. And even myself, I've been in the midst of, I don't know what any of this jargon means. I could use somebody that would explain this better to me or whatnot. And now, like I said, I have a wife that's in the medical field. She also is a good person to tell me, hey, it's time to go to the hospital. Hey, maybe you should get that checked out, whatever it is. But, I am kind of curious your perspective on why is it so easy for consumers to become overwhelmed by health information today?
Sure. I think it's because there's just so much out there, right? So back then we already have Google, and then now we also have all the different social media platforms, and then you add on AI, right?
Mm,
So it makes it's just overwhelming because there's just so much out there. And I think when you're not feeling well and you feel like your body's failing you, um, more information sometimes just makes things even more overwhelming and it just makes things worse. And I think what makes things even more overwhelming is that there's misinformation out there as well. So there's the different sources you're using, and then one conflicts the other, and you don't know who to trust or what to trust. So that doesn't help the situation either.
I can definitely see that. There is a plethora of misinformation out there. There's no shortage of it, that's for sure. Plus, not to mention, people come up with all these products and all these guarantees and promises and things that just seem so really too good to be true. Something I like to live by is if it sounds too good to be true, more than likely it is. But, as someone myself who I didn't really realize that my pharmacist could be a major resource for me. A lot of people, I feel like they just listen to their doctor, get whatever prescription or medication or what have you, and that's just it because their doctor said so. But how can a pharmacist help people understand their medications, the risks, and the other options out there a little more clearly?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think sometimes the thing is that people have a mindset when they come to the pharmacy that it's very transactional there.
Mm,
Fill my medication, I give you money, and then that's it. If you switch that mindset to knowing that your pharmacist can actually be your advocate, or your pharmacist can be a liaison to the rest of your healthcare team, including your insurance company. I Once you start treating them like having a mindset of that, you can start using them effectively as a resource, like you mentioned. So, like a pharmacist can help break all that information down that we just talked about that can be overwhelming, turn it into smaller bite size, right? Smaller sound bites that is easier to digest. Focus on the things that are more pertinent, or they feel in their professional judgment is more applicable to you as a patient based on what they know about you. And then giving you next steps because all this information is there. And then maybe that's part of the overwhelming process there is that all this information's out there, but what do you do with it? What are the
mm.
next steps? And I think the pharmacist is really great at giving you next steps, so you know what to do if A, if this occurs, this is what you do. B, if this occurs, this is what you should do next. Things like that.
Okay, so you're kind of reframing the way that I think about my pharmacist, if I'm being honest. And with that in mind, as we mentioned, there is a plethora of different digital content out there, social media stuff, all on medical information and medications. Are you telling me, a pharmacist could be a great way to kind of cut through that noise and help really get to the bottom of what is real and what kind of really can apply? Because we see all sorts of products and information out there, and if you do XYZ or take this thing, it's going to fix all these problems. Could a pharmacist be a really good person to kind of help run that by?
Yeah, I think so. And if you think about it, a pharmacist is probably one of the most accessible healthcare professionals out there, right? You don't always need an appointment to ask what, just a question, right? Depending, of course, on the pharmacy setup, they do have, you can talk to the technician there and set up a more thorough appointment, like a one-on-one 30-minute, 1 hour session with the pharmacist. But if it's just one question, and if you only go to one pharmacy, they already know you pretty well. They have your whole medication list. They know your medical conditions, and then you can tell them, "Hey, I've heard this." On Insta, I call it Insta News or Insta
Yep,
Science.
yep,
What,
yep.
how is this applicable to me, right? And then you can, they can tell you. They're like, well, it's not exactly wrong, but there's these factors or this context that they didn't know about you, right? But I do. And because of that, what they claim can't be applicable to you, right? So they can break things down and explain things better. I think the other thing a lot of people don't realize is pharmacists can also save you money. People don't think that, they go to a pharmacy and then they pay all this money for their medications. But if they I think just talk to your pharmacist, say, this is my goal. How can you help me get there? Right? So if your goal is to save money, the pharmacist can find ways to help you
Yeah.
save money. You just need to talk with them. So, yeah.
Well, like I said, even for me, you're kind of changing the way that I'm thinking about utilizing my pharmacist. I've never really thought about this avenue before, but something I really do like to ask, especially on this show and for people such as yourself, that's in this field, you've done things off script, you've gone a different direction. I'm curious, what about this path is fulfilling for you? What is your deeper reason why for doing this?
So, my deeper reason why for doing this is I think you've noticed multiple passions. I have education definitely as a passion. I have pharmacy, and I also have writing. So, as As far as how I got into digital health content, it's my love for writing. I love to write, but I also love the research part that goes into it as well. I like looking up different sources and then interpreting it, turning it into tables that can make things easier for someone else to understand. And then they can, just arm them with good information so that they can decide the next best steps for them. So I think that is definitely my biggest thing that pushes me forward is providing good information. So arming people with giving them the confidence to go forward and achieve their goals.
I think it's been very, very clear in this conversation so far. And one thing I always like to highlight is your reason why for this is rooted deeply in service to others and creating a better experience and opportunity for others. And that's so important in a world that is so filled with chaos and all these get rich quick schemes and get healthy quick schemes. I mean, goodness, it is nice to have people that are available that genuinely care about service to others, taking care of people, making sure they feel armed with the right information and confident not only to navigate that information, but to seek help, to seek guidance, and to really move forward in something that might be a little outside of the norm, so to say. I mean, such as yourself. I know a lot of medical professionals, and very few of them are brave enough to step outside of what they think is the predestined path. But to our audience, I will say this conversation really does highlight something, and it's that health information has to be more than available. It has to be understandable, credible, and connected to the person's real life. We're going to take another short break, and when we come back, we're going to be closing with medical writing, digital health, and how professionals like Ross are helping raise the standard for health communication. So grab some coffee, stretch out, popcorn, whatever it is you need. We'll be right back on Biz Talk.